Hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. On today's episode, I sit down with Tyler Cash. This episode was a serious struggle to record. About 40 minutes in, you will hear the audio change a bit. We were trying a new website to record on. My computer almost died. We were both having internet trouble. I'm sure a dog starts barking in the background at some point, but we just went with the flow and had a lot of fun. It's kind of like the Friends episode, the one with the two parties. It relates in the sense of the pure chaotic energy that was happening behind the scenes, but Rachel was putting her best face forward. There were also moments in this interview that we were having a lot of fun, but also got very serious about topics like social anxiety and imposter syndrome. Tyler is a soulmate of mine. He's incredibly creative and talented and really gives me full permission to be myself, which I think is so important in a friendship. I really want to thank him for his patience during this recording. This episode does have explicit language, so I'm very sorry, Grandma. But without further ado, here is my conversation with Tyler Cash.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, so I have this reoccurring dream always. Do you ever have reoccurring dreams? Do you ever experience that?
I always have reoccurring dreams.
So I don't really have them often, but I have this dream always and have always had it where I'm always in like kind of like a slummy building, like just like a shitty building. So like last night in my dream I was in like a mall, but it wasn't a very nice mall at all. And I always walk through like around.
You were at the Meadows Mall.
Yeah, for sure. Is that place even still there?
Yeah.
People still shop? Like, what the hell is even in it?
I don't know. Probably Anchor Blue.
Yeah, I used to fuck that Anchor Blue. I was just about to say that.
Me too.
Dude.
That was my place.
Me too. So anyways, in my dreams, I always am in a place like that. And I walk around like these corridors where there's kind of nobody at. And I'm like, my brain is like curious. So I'm like searching for something. And there's always like a really sketch ass door. And I walk in and it's always like an orgy. There's always I'm serious.
Of course this is your dream.
No, but the weird part about it is like in my dream, and it's always the same way where I'm
so sorry, Grandma. Grandma's listening.
I'm so sorry to your grandma. I have to finish it now. Okay. What's crazy though is that I'm never like I never participate, but I'm always like extremely curious, and I always walk through. But it's not like just this like orgy like you would think of, like, you know, just people having fun and partying and stuff. It's always like people that are like run down, not well looking.
So you're having dreams that you're going to a crack house.
It's like a crack house, but it's full of men having like dungeon sex. Like scary shit. It's
not dungeon sex.
And I never participate because I'm always like, this is not for me, but I'm always like, I have to keep going and find out more. And I always go down the same path, and it's so weird. Like, it's such a weird ass dream. I woke up and I was just like, what the fuck? And I was like delirious when I woke up because that dream always sends me, because it's so realistic, like everything about it. And I'm always like, damn. So I used to get him a lot more when I was like really feeling like very anxious all the time. And when I'm like anxious, or if I ever go through like moments where I'm like self-conscious, depressed, anxious, kind of all those things, but I'm taking it more out on myself. And I think I think this is true with a lot of gay men, that they have.
You're gay?
Oh shit. Not bad, dude. I gotta come out. Oh, hold on. Let me backtrack. Hold on.
I don't know why I thought we could do an episode together without. I'm already crying from laughing so hard. Like this.
I don't know how we're gonna stay on any type of topic, but we're gonna see what's.
I know. It's fine.
Okay, so I feel like this is.
Well, first, like, let's tell people, like, we have been best friends since we were like 14.
Yeah. So, how old were we when we met?
We don't live in.
We met at 14.
14. Yeah. And I'm 31. You're 30. But like, we don't live in the same place anymore.
I just turned 31.
You're 30. Oh, look at us go. So when Tyler and I get together, it's really like pee your pants.
Sometimes we go And I mean, we've talked in a lot more recently, but we have gone moments where we haven't maybe talked for like even probably sometimes as long as like 8 months. Like just busy doing shit. And then whenever we hang out, it's always the same. It's always, I mean, we're a lot more tame now, but there was
so much more tame, but still like so giggly all the time. But I do have a reoccurring dream, and it's been happening a lot recently. I have to go back to middle school or high school, and I have all gray hair. And I wake up and I'm like, oh my God. Well, I think because I have like one gray strand that I've been seeing in my hair in the front.
Okay,
every
so wait,
day,
how long have you been? How long have you been? That's sick, though. Honestly, that's fucking very Stacey London of you. How long have you been having this reoccurring dream?
Probably for like the last month and a half. But like, I think that's just like, I don't know if that's for like it, like things. A lot of things are changing in my life, and I actually was just thinking about it today. Like, I look older, like I could tell, but I looked my age in a picture today and I was like, I don't hate that. Like, I actually like what I'm aging into. And I think some people, especially with social media, people are so like scared of aging. So I'm wondering what that's about. But I think maybe it's because I feel like I'm old, but I'm still in a young body.
You know what is like, you know what's crazy though?
Because it's almost 9 and I'm like, I'm up late.
But I feel like a lot of people think that. I feel like, and I've seen a couple of my friends recently, like, you know, post little fucking shitty memes and stuff. Oh, excuse my language. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because I have a terrible mouth. Okay, cool.
Like Vanessa.
Like who?
Like Vanessa from Freeway.
Oh my God, I know. That's why she's my spirit animal. We'll get into that. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel that way all the time. I'm like, I still just feel like, I don't feel like a kid, but I still feel like a dumb 21-year-old. Sorry to the 21-year-olds out there that are listening. You're not all dumb, but I mean, it's kind of like a rite of passage, right?
They're naive.
Okay, sure. Whatever. Yeah, that's what they are. But I'm saying how I feel sometimes. I'm like, I don't feel 31, but like really what is 31? You know what I mean? There's still kind of that like weight that age holds that I think is less and less now because people are having a lot less kids and people aren't getting married very young, like what our parents and the generations before that grew up like being used to and stuff. Like our generation and especially the generations after, like they're not having it with that shit. So we're kind of that generation that's in that weird, like solid, comfortable in your 30s and growing, but then also still like, and will I ever be? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know. So, I really don't know.
That's an interesting dream. Reoccurring dreams. Do you feel like you get reoccurring dreams? I mean, I'm sure this is probably a question, but do you notice that you have a lot more stressors in your life, a lot heavier things are weighing on you, and then you have these types of dreams? Or
yeah, absolutely. I think because a big theme in my life right now has been like feeling like a failure, and I think that's the whole thing of going back to school and like I'm old and gray and I have to go back to school and I have nothing to show. I have nothing accomplished and I'm just...
Well, because you still feel like a kid, right? That's why you go back to school.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. And so...
That's disgusting.
I'm so hard on myself. I know. And I'm so hard on myself. You know, in the past month, I've worked a lot with my therapist of not calling myself a failure because she said something really amazing. She was like, somebody who failed is somebody who gave up. And like, you have not given up. So you have not failed because you're still going. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I've definitely gotten better at talking to myself like that. But when like I'm really stressed or anxious, my dreams are always about my dogs. And like, I don't even want to talk about what those dreams will be like. But I'm always so worried that their life is coming to an end because they are older.
Yeah.
But I have to like wake up and remind myself, like, and we have a little camera that I could look at when
you have doggy daycare cams?
Oh yeah, I do. And my parents, God bless them. I'll be like, Maxie wants a belly rub.
Oh hell
no! From LA in my living room.
Oh hell no! Like people that talk over on Ring cameras and stuff, and they're like,
yeah,
hello.
That's me. That's literally me. So it's like, but I have to, when I have those dreams, I wake up and I have to go on the camera and be like, okay, they're fine. Everybody's fine. But a lot of the reason why they got the camera is because I was always so anxious, when they would go away for, they'd go to hockey games and they'd be gone for like 6 hours and the dogs, but it's a blessing and a curse because then I sit there and stare at the dogs and I'm like, I'm sitting here home alone. I should be there. Why am I even in LA? Like, it's just, there's a lot going on up there all the time.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. Makes sense.
Have you been feeling like, I know in the past like month or so you've had a lot going on?
Yeah.
And are you open to talking about like, because you just started therapy, correct? Recently?
No, actually, I guess I started therapy. I think I've been going probably maybe about 4 or 5 months. 5 months.
Oh, amazing! I've been going.
That's
fairly recent.
Yeah, and therapy is interesting because I think that a lot of people, like, if you don't grow up with families that talk about mental health, if you don't grow up with families that talk about mental health, therapy doesn't seem like something that's easily accessible. So it almost seems like a last resort type experience, when you're just like, I can't fucking take anymore. I'm about to like crack and lose my shit. Like, I need to talk to somebody.
Right.
Which I don't think therapy should be that way, right? But I think that people that aren't familiar with therapy or are familiar with their loved ones or friends or whatever that go to therapy, they don't really quite know what they're getting into. So sometimes it feels like a bit of a quick fix. And I think what I've learned in therapy is that it's not. And that therapy is not a therapist fixing you, that it is literally all of your own work. So 5 months sounds like a long time, but it's not.
It's not.
Because we haven't even really scratched the surface. I mean, and I was telling you that the last like month and a half, 2 months, I was really experiencing like kind of a big episode of depression, and it felt like, and I was like going off I was having these, and it kind of catapulted me into like, I guess catapult would be going up, but if you think about going into a hole, you go down. Who knows? Whatever. Catapulted me down to hell. I don't know. I was drinking and going out and having these like crazy outbursts and like being on my Bad Girls Club shit and just like being so hectic and crazy. And so that was just making me feel like so just really ashamed and really embarrassed and carrying a lot of that shame with me. So it felt like every time each week I was talking with my therapist, I was bitching about last week, and that I wasn't actually being able to like dive into maybe some core issues that I want therapy to support me in, that I want to use therapy as support in those areas. And so I feel like just in the last 2 weeks, because I've been feeling a lot better, that I'm kind of getting to that space, but I don't really know how to do it. So love therapy.
So you had a breakthrough.
I don't know if I would call it a breakthrough as much as I would call it the beginning of trying to find a breakthrough.
Gotcha.
Right? So
yeah. What was like the deciding factor for you though? Like that moment where you were like, I'm going to see a therapist.
So it's interesting because I've always dealt with mental health. Always, always, always. Everybody in my family it's very big on my mom's side of the family. Always had up and down mental health, even since I was a little kid, just a lot of extreme anxiety and social anxiety and a lot of shame. And again, I think that has a lot to do with growing up in small-minded white side of town, being gay, having very machismo brothers and a dad, and all of that kind of just gay boy drama, that's shit that we all grow up with. And I've never really processed it. I've just always kind of like buried it down and moved on and whatever. So I've always gone in and out of dealing with like very, very heavy episodes, like where I'm extremely, extremely depressed and I can't move and I can't get out of the house and I don't want to see anybody. And my personality is just like, ugh, and is horrible. And then on the flip side, almost like a snap of a finger, I'll be the complete opposite. And I'm out and I'm funny and I'm giggly and, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. And I'm busybody all day long. You think I'm fidgety now. In those moments, I'm literally running around all day. And then I get extreme
You and I are
burnout.
very much this. Yeah, we're very much the same.
You're like that as well?
Oh my gosh, where it will literally just be like, go, 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 go. And I'm feeling like I'm being productive. And see it? See that little streak of gray? That's what's giving me nightmares.
I don't, but if that's keeping you up at night, pull that shit out, dude.
It looks like.
Pull it out.
No, then more are going to go back.
Who said?
But also,
who
it
made
looks
that
like those
rule?
girls.
That is not science.
I don't know, but it reminds me of those girls who go and like get tinsel put in their hair, like when that was a thing.
I love that.
It looks like my tinsel. I'm just going to color it pink.
I literally love tinsel in the hair. I think it's so fucking sick.
Ew.
Oh my god, I love it. It's fabulous.
But I definitely feel the same way, and like even today. And part of me was like, do I make myself feel this way because it's where I'm comfortable? But like today, I had such a busy day. I woke up and I had to go to, I got an audition the second I woke up. Then I was like, oh, well, it was to play like a girl who was just got done mountain biking. Literally, I have nothing that would make me look like outdoorsy. So I was like, let me go to Target. I got to go to Target. Then my printer was out of ink, so I couldn't print out the sides. Then I come home and then, just like my whole day. But I was like, you know what? I'm being productive and I'm learning my sides and I'm preparing my audition. And I went and, picked up some product for a client this week. And then and I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm doing it. At least I'm not sitting in a hole in my cave in my apartment and not getting out. And then I'm like, okay, I went home. I did my audition. Now I'm doing this interview with you and I spent time with a friend. But then I sit down and I'm like, oh, but I didn't see my dogs at all today and I abandoned them and I'm doing all of this and I'm not even thinking about anybody else but myself, which is like insane.
You
but
feel
it's
guilty
like,
about
like
that?
I said it, like I feel guilty.
Where does that guilt come from? Have you been like that since you were little? Do you feel like naturally like more empathetic towards people? Like when people are, maybe that's why you were my friend. That's why you became my friend in 9th grade. Because Lord knows, bitch.
I was like, I need to help
You're
him.
like, that kid.
Help.
What the hell? Because, girl.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yes, I think I will literally go to, Ralph's and go to the deli and like the guy, slicing the meat. I'm like, I hope he's like making enough money to provide for his family. Like, I hope he's okay. Like, it's like to the point where it makes me sad. I make myself sad about it instead of being like, you know what? Good for that guy. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very interesting. And like, I think too, like, when I was little, I was very attached to being at home.
It's
like
safe,
if we went to,
sure.
And like if we went to Fashion Show Mall instead of Meadows Mall, which was only like 4 or 5 miles further, I'd feel like we were too far away from the house and I just wanted to get home. And
so
like,
you're a natural
I was just literally like, I want to be home. I don't want to be far away from my things. I mean, I never spend the night at anybody's houses. I am so weird about it. I can't even remember last time. Probably at least 8 years since I've spent the night at somebody else's house or even a hotel room. Like I think I've stayed the night at one hotel room in the past 5 or 6 years. I'm very much, I want to be in my house. I want my stuff. And I am very comfortable there. And like, I don't have I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like people want to travel. Like you and I've talked about a million times. Like you would love to travel the world. I'm like, send me a postcard.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally, and it's not like, I don't look at people who want to travel like they're crazy, but I just am like, I have everything I need kind of right here. And like, same with like, and it's interesting, but when I go home and I'm with my dogs, I sleep so much better. And like, then I feel so safe there. So it's just like knowing that everybody's okay. And then I think like today when I was so busy and I didn't think about if everybody was okay, I was like, well, what am I doing? That's so selfish of me. And I have that pattern of like constantly beating myself up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone deals with their own fucking shit in their own ways. Cause I'm not necessarily that way. I am what I feel like pretty empathetic. I think probably, well, I mean, shit, it might be, you know, codependency, and everyone, a lot of people have that in different forms. Like I have it when I attach to like ex-boyfriends and stuff like that. Like, and kind of unlearning that is difficult. Unlearning that is really, really hard, especially when it's like an issue of whether you're feeling safe or not. You know, like I like to be at home, and I've always been a big homebody. And I mean, looking back, a lot of shame and stuff that I carry now is missing out on a lot of experiences growing up because of that, because of my like need to feel safe at home. And you know, that's been a big thing that I've been diving into a lot into therapy, and where that comes from, because a lot of my shame is, and a lot of my self-worth is held in other people's hands, you know? So I feel like I'm not a part of these experiences, and no one cares if I'm there, or no one cares if I'm not. And what's the point? So it's difficult, but then also at the same time, I want to go the fuck home. So,
but it's definitely interesting. Like the other night I went out for my girlfriend's birthday, and like I found a corner of a couch, and I was posted up, and I just was like, I'm right here. Whoever wants to talk to me can come talk to me, because my ankle was killing me. And I was just like, but I felt so comfortable and fine because I was cozy. Like I like that atmosphere of coziness. And like I was talking to people I've known for 10 plus years, and like some people I hadn't seen in a while, but it was like, you know, I think I have a lot of those friendships where it's like, you know, we pick up exactly where we left off. If you're in my life for a certain amount of time, like you're just in my life. I've always been that type of person. And and I think that's what I'm like getting to, is like, I haven't been feeling that way lately of being like, I'm having a good time, but I feel so guilty. And like, and I think a lot of that is, like you said, from growing up when I was, you know, drinking, or
I was gonna lead into that.
Yeah. When I've been sober now over 6 years, but when I was drinking, it was all about like going out and like partying and being with my friends who I don't even really talk. Those people are people I don't talk to anymore. So the other night when I was getting home, I mean, I was out till midnight, which is very late for me. I know. But I was driving home, and I was having that feeling of like, I shouldn't be out. I'm going to get pulled over. But I was like, bitch, you are sober. You are a grown woman, and you are going to your apartment that you live in by yourself. Like, you are fine. Yeah. But it does bring me back that memory of like when I was younger, and I shouldn't have been out late, and I shouldn't have been driving, and I shouldn't have been hanging out with the people I was hanging out with because they were, you know, not great. My parents didn't love them. So it's like, I still carry that guilt and shame with me.
Yeah.
Even though, oh my God, a bug just totally flew in my mouth, and I caught it. That was so awful.
Dude, one time, ew. I'm not even lying. I'm not even lying right now. One time I karate chopped a fly in half.
That's amazing.
The amount of pure focus and dexterity I'll never experience again. But I karate chopped that bitch right in half, a fly.
Okay, but I don't want to trigger you, but I'm like, shit, I want you to tell me, does that remind you about the rat that climbed down your body?
It doesn't, because it wasn't a rodent that crawled on my fucking face. So no, I don't attach one memory with the other. But thank you for reminding me that.
Anything that's not a dog or a cat, I'm like, just get it away. Like, I don't want a single bug. I don't even want a butterfly near me, if I'm being completely honest. Like, a bug is a bug. A bug is a bug. Okay.
Come on.
Ladybug. People are like, that's lucky. And I'm like, great for the ladybug, but it's on me, and that is grossing me out.
You would literally hate me. I've literally been considering, I mean, I have so many plants in my home. Like, I get,
I see it.
I get fruit flies. I get like little shit things that come with bugs. And what the best thing that you can do to take care of that issue is ladybugs. And I'm like, I don't mind unleashing a bunch of ladybugs in my house, but if anyone were to come over and there's a ladybug, and I'm like, oh, no, don't worry about it. There's a ladybug on the pillow. Just let it go. Like, I think I'm destined to be alone forever. So
Well, I mean, I guess so, Mike, because I'm sitting here talking about how I basically hate leaving my house and like just like don't like anything outdoors. I'm like, wow, I'm really not amping myself up for an eligible bachelor right now.
My God.
But honestly,
Well,
like I feel like I'm really happy right now. And like somebody the other night I was telling you said to me, like, you look happy, like you look like you are just like you again. And I didn't feel that way for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm finally feeling that way again, which has been really nice.
I mean, relationships, as much as people think that they can make people feel that way, make themselves feel that way, they don't. I mean, to each their own, but I've never been a person that's like experienced the longing of another person. Like, I am very, very happy at home alone. The only times I feel like bad about it is when I'm like, yo, you have been in your house for days and haven't seen anybody. This is not healthy. But I'm actually very comfortable. Like I'm very satisfied. I keep myself entertained. I listen what I listen to. I watch what I like. Like,
yeah.
So,
and also like I loved, so like, you know, my roommate just moved out to be in their relationship, and I was like having a really hard time with being alone because we had such a system here where we would wake up and like talk about what we're going to do for the day. And then we'd go to our, you know, jobs. And then we would literally be on Instagram all day sending each other shit. And then we'd come home and be like, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? Like, and then we would order food, eat food, and then watch something, laugh, and then just like go to bed and be like, good night, love you. And like, it was like so amazing. But I do realize in that, like, I didn't really talk to anybody else the whole time they were living with me because I was like, I have a built-in best friend right here. I don't need to leave. And it was so interesting though, because the other night when you and I decided to watch Freeway, and we watched it in our own apartments in other states, but we're like texting in real time, like, oh, wait, pause it. Oh, wait. Okay, now start it. What timestamp are you at? Like, I was like, wow, this is so fun to do.
Yeah.
Like to watch this with somebody else and also just like be in the comfort of your own home and like experience, like you're experiencing me experiencing something new.
Right.
And it was just like really cool.
I've done that with a couple of people.
That.
Like I've done it a few times. I mean, I think it got really popular, obviously, with like COVID, and I think
with COVID,
Netflix and all them did like what is that, like Watch with Friends or whatever the hell the new features that they added for COVID, so people could watch movies in separate homes with their friends and all that bullshit. But I've done it like with friends and boyfriend. Honestly,
it's okay. I mean, that's what was happening while we were watching Freeway. I mean, you were like, pause, my internet just went out. But
you know, for everyone that's listening, I live in the center of the universe where T maybe just doesn't fucking work. I don't know what it is, but it just nothing. It's always this way. It's so shitty. But yes, watching movies with friends is the best because I can stay in my home. It's also a great way to like connect with people that aren't around you. And yeah, it's fun. I love doing that shit. But yes, Freeway. So we watched it last night, and I really wanted to know your thoughts because we were laughing our asses off, but you wouldn't tell me. So now you can tell me. Go ahead.
Okay. I absolutely loved that movie. I mean, look, a lot of things would not fly in today's world, and like a lot of things didn't age that great in that movie. But
yeah,
Reese
I mean, they use a couple hard R's, but like, there's kind of a difference, like, not that I'm justifying anybody using that word, but her character and her family obviously comes from a very rough neighborhood. Southern California.
She's problematic. Yeah, she's problematic. It's not just like,
right. Her parents do heroin. Her mom's a prostitute. She's illiterate. Like, she comes from an incredibly poor area, whatever the hell. No resources and stuff. So the use of the word in the film wasn't as a form of hate as much as it was a form of, well, you're going to treat me like this, so I'm going to treat you like that. So, I mean, it's uncomfortable to hear, obviously, in what year is it? 2023, 22?
22.
But, it's not like you're watching Like, have you ever watched Bringing Down the House?
No, I have not.
Don't ever watch it. That's the most racist fucking movie I've ever seen.
Really?
It's
Oh,
horrible.
no. I mean,
I can't even believe the queen put herself in that position. It's just like, I hope her check was fucking fat. But anyways, back to Freeway.
Anyway, with Freeway, Reese Witherspoon, 10 out of 10, no notes. I mean, literally, every 5 seconds, I was just telling a girlfriend of mine today, like, there's a ton of people who have not seen it. And myself included, like, I had known about it because that actress, Sarah Ramos, did porn scenes where she recreated all of Reese Witherspoon's separate. She had quarantine scenes, and then she also
are you saying quarantine scenes?
Quarantine scenes. So when
that's what she branded it.
Yeah, when she was in quarantine during COVID, like she was like, I still have to create something. So she did a bunch of recreations of. So talented too. She was on Parenthood, which was one of my big rewatch shows a while ago, but it's like really depressing. But so I had known about Freeway because of her doing one of those scenes, but then seeing Reese Witherspoon in this role, I mean, I told you I want to see her do roles like this more. Like she has such a squeaky clean image now. And it is like literally night and day. And hearing that thick Southern accent, when she's like, "You just settle down now, Bob." That was my favorite.
You are so ugly, Bob.
I
say it all the time. Dude, sometimes I'll look at myself in the mirror in the morning and I'll be like, "You are so ugly, Bob."
Oh,
like, that movie has just like integrated itself into my life so much. It is hilarious, and there's so many people in it. There's so many like well-known actors and actresses in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best. But yeah, you're right. Like nobody ever sees that. I always tell people that's my favorite movie, and nobody's ever seen it.
How did that movie come into your life?
Oh my god. Okay, so
like why? Like you were saying, like that is your movie. Like
that's my movie.
Whenever, and like it just like takes you out of where you are, and you will always laugh. You always find it like it's brand new.
Yeah, I mean, I have certain things. I am a creature of habit. Like as I get older and as I start to understand mental health and triggers and things that make me feel comfortable and like ease anxieties, things like that, the more I used to always be like, I don't like routine. I like to be spontaneous. I like to be this and that. And I want new experiences, and like would put so much pressure to have that type of life. I think it's a very young person's game, like
Absolutely.
early 20s.
I think we tell ourselves we like that just so that we could seem like the fun, like cool person.
Sure.
And then we're like, as we get older, we're like, I was literally not having fun doing that or not making any good choices. And now I have to wake up and do the same exact thing every morning, or else my whole day is shot.
Well, I need the balance, you know, I need the balance of like setting times to be spontaneous and to experience new things and to put myself in uncomfortable situations. But I also need routines to like understand myself and grow and learn and evolve. And like, you know, it goes into very simple things of like learning a new hobby. Like you can't learn a new hobby unless you have a routine, right? Because I'm always that way. Like I start something new that I think I want to do, and then I never follow through with it because I've always been so anti-routine. So now I'm starting to be like, ooh, okay, yeah, let me make a good routine that makes me feel like good, right? So like I said, I'm a creature of habit. So I do watch the same things over and over a lot. And like, I'll watch a lot of the same stand-up, and I'll watch a lot of the same shows to fall asleep and things like that I've seen so many times that they always make me feel happy. But there's not a lot of movies, mostly because I'm such an antsy person. It's hard for me to want to sit down and pay attention to a full film, especially one that I've already seen.
Right.
Except for Freeway. Like Freeway, I can watch over and over, and I think it's so fucking funny every time. I die. It's hilarious. So when I was, what year? It was probably like 2010. You know, when I graduated, you graduated early.
We graduated in 2009.
Yeah, but you graduated early. Did you go to the actual graduation ceremony?
Yeah, and that was 2009. We were class of 2009.
Yeah. So I moved to Arizona the next morning. Like we had the graduation and then I moved the very next morning to Arizona. So I moved straight to Arizona.
Why didn't I realize that?
I know. Well, because it was 14 years ago. So I moved to Arizona and I started going to school and I met friends and it was cool and it was great. But, you know, my parents were like, look, boom, we can't afford to like support you, you know, like my parents weren't like that. So they were like, you gotta do shit on your own. And so I was going to school and they were like, well, you got to pay for school and you got to pay for your apartment. And because I was going to school, was only able to work part-time. And also I'm 18 years old. So I'm feeling very overwhelmed by all of that. So long story short, it was a little overwhelming. And I made a very like hasty, fast, quick decision to move back to Las Vegas. 8 months later, I dropped out of school, went straight back to Las Vegas because I just kind of gave up a little bit. You know,
this was cosmetology school, right?
Yeah, dropped out of beauty school. So, you know, I met
beauty school dropout.
I know, you know, everyone fucking sings that song every time I say that. But
well, okay, my last name is Rizzo, so I don't really care.
Well, I mean, the best thing about beauty school, I went to beauty school with my roommate, and we have 2 other friends we met at beauty school, and we're all still like once or twice a year, we all meet up and we have like, we'll spend like a whole weekend together. So, you know, good things came from it. But needless to say, I moved to Arizona because I hated Las Vegas. You weren't living there, I don't think. All my friends had moved away. So I was like, fuck this place. So anyways, I moved here and then I decided to move back and then I had already committed to it and quit my job and all this stuff and then was like starting to really regret it because I was going to miss all these people, all these new friendships I made. So I was really depressed when I got back to Las Vegas and I was like, my mom was like, you can live with me. She lived in this 2-bedroom apartment. She just had an extra room. She was like, you can live in it. My brothers were both in the military, so this was all new for her and for me. It was just us 2. So it was just a weird ass time. I was young, but having all this like pressure, and then I wanted to do all these things, but just didn't have like the mental space to like focus. So I was just like, it was very depressing. So it was like 4th of July, and my mom used to have this really good friend, and I would do her hair. And she was an amazing cook. Like she would make some badass food, right? So every time I would do her hair and she would cook. So this 4th of July, she's like, I'm going to do her hair in the day. She's going to make us dinner and then we're going to watch this movie because my mom is like, this is my favorite movie. And back at that time, it was Netflix. You had to order the DVDs. There wasn't like streaming. You had to order a DVD and it finally was on Netflix. My mom orders it, gets there that day. Whatever. So that's our plan for the day, right? I'm like, you're going to get your ass off your bed and we're going to have a good day. You're going to do hair. We're going to eat food and we're going to watch this movie. She's just like, it's hilarious. It's my favorite movie. It's so funny. I'm like, yeah, whatever, bitch. It's fine. So the day's going, beautiful dinner. We decide like, let's get high, right? Me, my mom and her friend, we all smoke so much weed and we pop this movie in and I swear to God, like, there's only a few times in my life that I can think of memories where I was laughing so hard and my guts were busting out the seams, like could not control myself.
I feel like all those memories I have of me laughing that hard are with you.
I know, because I do stupid shit.
Or when I changed your phone to Portuguese. That will never not be funny.
There's so many
in high school.
There's so many languages now on phones, too. You could change my shit straight to, like, Farsi, and I would never know. I would never know how to get out of it. I think I had, like, a BlackBerry or something.
Mm-hmm. I just know you had to call support, and, like, because you're like, I don't know how to get back to my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and there's no one that fucking speaks Portuguese in North Las Vegas. So, yeah, I was pretty fucked. I was fucked.
Oh, my God.
So, anyways, we just it was just the best experience. Like, we laughed so hard and I just died. Like, I fell in love with this movie. I always loved, like, a really shitty-mouthed tough girl. This is gonna beat everyone's ass and, like, take no shit. Like, it's my favorite kind of girl. That's my favorite kind of girl. All the girls in my life are like that. So, yeah, ever since then, like that was just like the funniest experience I've ever had. And I think it was like the one experience where at that moment, like I just finally was like, could just breathe and was laughing my ass off and was like, had a great experience attached to that movie. And
it's like in life when like a really like, or in like any TV show when there's like a really serious moment and then someone cuts the tension and lets all the air out of the room. You're like, oh, thank God. Like I can literally just like enjoy this and laugh because it's been so hard for so long.
Yeah. I mean, that's why like even now, whenever I'm feeling like really depressed or I'm feeling really sad or overwhelmed or whatever, I always listen to stand up. Like, I just need something that's and I'll listen to it over and over and over. The same specials that I know I just think are hilarious. And like the same with Freeway. Like, I need to watch something that I know is going to make me laugh. And it always helps. I mean, aside from you focusing on something and putting your attention on something else so you get out of your head for a minute, like you get engaged in something, it's also something that's going to like make your ass laugh. So pump that serotonin in my brain, baby. Like, you know.
What stand-up are you listening to?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's another stand-up comedian. His name is Sam Morril. And I actually like really started falling in love with his stand-up and with all his specials and stuff during quarantine. Like, he has so many videos on YouTube. This dude is funny as shit. He is hilarious. And he actually just came out with finally, this guy did so many things during 2020 to like keep comedy alive. It was amazing, but he finally got a Netflix special because there's a lot of unfunny ass people on Netflix. But the other one that I really love is Tiffany Haddish. She Ready.
Yeah. Oh, she's great.
Bro, She Ready is the funniest special. It's on Spotify. I don't care how many times I listen to it. It's hilarious. It's truly, to this day, her best work. Like, she was so funny. I can't stand it.
Do you find when you watch shows like, or like watch movies like Freeway or listen to stand up, like, is it like, okay, with Freeway, for example, like, is a big reason why you like watching that because it brings you back to that memory with your mom, and then it still does the same thing for you till this day?
I wouldn't say that it brings these memories like that I, for example, watch Freeway and I am reminded of that specific memory attached to it. Although that memory is like very like sweet and I love to think about it, but
it's more so like the feeling.
It's more so the type of like relaxation. So I've read some stuff recently about people with ADD, people with high anxiety that they watch the same things over and over and over. Or if you listen to the same songs over and over and over. And I've also, since I read that, I've noticed so many of my friends that listen to the same shit. I've got one friend, I swear, her music capped out at high school. Like, she's in her 30s. She's in her...
Same.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
Shit. Well, I guess I had a couple. But, like, and she's also really has a lot of anxiety and a lot of other things that she deals with on her own. So it makes sense why you want to listen to these things that you attach these kind of like safer spaces to. You know, you experience these things, you listen to them when you were probably feeling like safer in your own zone or in a zone that made you feel really comfortable. And that kind of comfortability is just always in the back of your brain whenever you're hearing or watching these things, you know? And I do it all the time. Sometimes I'm like, dude, you need to like, just listen. There's so much other great shit out there. Find something else. But
I know that's a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast too, is because it's like, I know there's a lot of stuff that I haven't watched because of my anxiety and because of my depression, where, you know, I'm rewatching Gilmore Girls right now, which I have seen a million times, but I still get so into the storyline when
I loved that shit in high school.
When it gets, which is interesting because in high school I had zero interest. It would come on TV after another show I watched. I forget what was on before it. And I was like, what is this? Like, and I would just like not watch it. But now I cannot stop. And it's so interesting how I mean, I think during COVID, I rewatched it 3 times. back to back. Like I just would start, stop, start, stop. I couldn't.
Would you do other
stars.
stuff? Would you do stuff while it was on in the background, or were you like always sitting down, tuned in?
Oh, I was tuned in.
Oh, you were in.
I was tuned in. Well, I also got my appendix out, and then it was like I just had a mirage of health problems that happened during COVID without, knock on wood, ever getting it. But it was just like, I don't know, Stars Hollow just feels like a really safe, warm, cozy blanket. And usually every fall is when I start it. I don't know what got me to start it during the summer this time, but now because it is fall, it's like Gilmore Girls is just always associated with fall for me, and leaves
because that damn neighborhood, they live in. I remember really liking it in high school, but I couldn't tell you one single episode, but I remember going through a moment. So I get like this, like I don't watch a lot of, especially shows, because I will do nothing but watch it. Like, I will disregard every other thing that I have to do, because once I start a show, I will watch every goddamn episode, and I'll get, like, 4 minutes of sleep. And
yeah. But see, what is so crazy is that I've seen Gilmore Girls so many times, and I'll be falling asleep and fighting it because I'm like, I need to watch the rest of this, even though I've seen it a million times. But it doesn't matter. I will... If I know I'm falling asleep, I will turn off Gilmore Girls and turn on Friends, and then I can fall asleep. And it's interesting because I never had a TV in my room growing up. And now that I do, I'm like, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse that I got a TV once I moved out, because now I cannot sleep without a TV on. I can't do it.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I just got a TV, okay? I have never... I've never had a TV. I've always thought TVs were like the ugliest thing. Like a room could be so cute, and then you have a big ass TV, and it was just so gross.
It's like there's a quote in Friends when Joey's like, "You don't have a TV, then what's all your furniture pointed at?" And it's like, that is my thinking.
Yeah, not me, dude. I think when I was little, my dad was always like, he needed like the biggest TVs, the biggest this, the biggest that, and it was such a techie guy, and I always thought it was so. I always thought that shit was so gross.
When was the first time you were watching TV and saw yourself in a character?
That's a tough question. Sometimes I feel like I have a problem, and this is something that I deal with in therapy right now, where I feel like a lot of my personality sometimes is adopted from other people that I admire. So I don't think that I see myself in a character as much as I see a character that I really
want to become.
Right. I really admire this. I really admire that person. And I'm so bad at it because I love foreign films. I do watch quite a bit of foreign films. I'll be talking in a fake ass French accent for a week. I'll watch one French film. All of a sudden, Je vous drain all over the damn place. Like, do it all the time.
The episode I just watched the Gilmore Girls, they're in Paris, and she's trying to talk in a French accent, and it's like terrible. She won't learn.
Mine is not good. Not good. I just watched that show Elite on Netflix, which is like such a silly show, but I was so into it. And I swear to God, I was graciasing all week. I thought I lived in Spain.
That is so. But I totally get it. And like, I mean, I am the same exact way when it's like, there's a female lead where I'm like, I admire absolutely every single thing about them. So I'm going to start, emulating them in some sort of way. But like, and it is hard because you're like, well, I don't want to just like, then you're like, who am I? Like, who am I as a person?
I mean, that's part of it.
But then it's like kind of about like taking all the qualities that you do like of them and going like, this is something to aspire to be and not just copy, but like Lorelai Gilmore. She is so strong. She figures her shit out. I remember, oh my God, when I was going through one of the worst times of my life when I was like 25 and I was watching so much Shameless. And I was like, if Fiona Gallagher can do this, like I didn't have a car for 3 months and I was walking everywhere and I was Ubering places. Right. And I was just like I was like, you know what? Fiona doesn't have a steady job. Fiona doesn't have a car. I can do this. Like, she's that bitch. She makes shit happen. Yeah. And like, So it was like, I'll pull from that. And then, but again, it does make you go like, well, then who am I if I'm not watching all these characters? But again, that's why we like these shows, because they're a reflection of like who we want to be, who we aspire to be, the parts of us we don't like that we can recognize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a catch-22 because that's really all people's personalities are anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your personality grows and changes
Absolutely.
as you learn new things. But sometimes if you are learning something from somebody, you feel like it's not really yours. So, I mean, that's a big thing that I do with in therapy now, that I talk to my therapist about. Like, I don't really know sometimes who I am. And that kind of relates a lot to my social anxieties and stuff. And it's gotten so much better over the last like 2 years. But I remember being like 23, and the second I was around, it was never like a club setting, because a club or really big setting, I could hide, I could blend, I could put on a fake little personality. And it was really just about like, you know, being fun and stuff. Like when you and I would go out at the clubs when we were like 23, and we would just act like fucking fools. But it was the intimate groups of 8 close friends. In a club, if I go to a club or I go to a bar, there's so many people. It's usually busy. You can kind of blend in. In those situations, I always have alcohol with me. So I guess that's kind of a support in that, an unhealthy way of supporting myself in those situations. But in an intimate group, 8, 9, 10, like larger intimate groups of close friends, I'm usually a lot more, I tend to crawl inside of myself a little bit. Do you get like that at all, or?
I prefer smaller groups. Large crowds, I'm not a fan of. And like, I mean, but I'm a more one-on-one type of friend than I am. I like to have those like deep conversations and like chat, or like, you know, if there's 2 or 3 of us. But I don't like a big group of people at something all the time. But like, you know, I love to have game nights. I have a lot of game nights over at my apartment, but I would say it caps off at like 10 people.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm comfortable with 3 or 4 friends over and we're doing stuff, yeah, I'm fine with, because I'm comfortable with these people. But let's say it's a group of like 8 people at someone's house and I only know 2 of them, you know.
Yeah.
In that situation, I have a hard time. I don't know. I just tend to overthink my actions, overthink my responses to questions, just kind of all of those things fall under the social anxiety umbrella. So many people have social anxiety, but it's so interesting to see when and where people's triggers are.
Yeah, I think I used to be that way in like my early 20s, but now I'm like,
so bad.
Yeah, in my early 20s, or even up until like I was probably like 27 or 28, really. And then now, as I've gotten more comfortable with who I am and knowing who I am and knowing what I will and won't put up with in friendships or relationships, I am like, well, look, I match the energy of the people around me, in the sense of like, if you're giving me a certain vibe, I'll give that to you back. I'm not going to go above and beyond, because I'm not auditioning for you. I'm not trying to prove my worth. Like, if you're giving me, hey girl, I'm going to give you, hey girl. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, so how are you? And like before, it was like, I needed to know that everybody liked me, and that like, it's just, I'm not like that anymore at all.
Yeah. I'm a lot less like that now.
Mm-hmm.
In my early 20s, it was so bad. Oh my God. And now it's like one of those things when you sit in the shower and you think about a conversation that happened 10 years ago and you're like, shit, I should have said that. Or damn, that was so embarrassing. Or if you see like an old Facebook post from 2009 and you're just like, it's kind of like that. But nowadays,
it's more so like, I'm not trying to get your approval, because I already approve of me. And I didn't for a very long time. I have my own approval. I have my own self-worth now, where before I was looking for it outside of myself from other people. And now I don't need that. And like, I felt like a lot of the reason like I would go out when I was younger is because I needed to prove to people like that I have a life, that I'm fun, that I have friends, that I do this. And now I'm like always posting about it on social media. And now I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah, I could give a shit less.
Now people are just shocked that I'm out because I'm a grandma. And they're like, literally, when I posted the other night that I was out, people are like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock at night. Are you okay? And I was like, I know.
Like, she's spiraling.
Right. But that's a question that I was thinking about too, is like, is there a TV show that you watch that makes you feel more like yourself? Because I know, like with Friends, if I turn it on, I automatically feel connected to myself again. Like if I've had one of those days where I just kind of feel like my head is a little cloudy, or I'm not super inspired, or like I'm like, wow, I'm kind of lonely. Like I turn Friends on and it makes me feel like more connected to who I am, and like reminds me of the fun parts about myself, and like makes me feel less alone.
Yeah, I mean, mine is funny. As funny as it is to say, it's always been the Golden Girls. I turned the Golden Girls. It's, you know what's funny is I love the Golden Girls. I think it is the funniest show. Anybody that knows me knows that I fuck with that show hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I hate all Golden Girls stuff, like merchandise. It's so dorky. It's so dorky and so cheesy to me. And my dad, bless his heart, like when I was a teenager or early 20s, things like that, he never knew what to get me because we have a nice relationship, but it was never like very intimate. Every single damn holiday, birthday, everything, a Golden Girls thing. That's a blanket, trivia set, cards. The full DVD set came in a damn Sophia purse. Like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, dude, so enough on the Golden Girls stuff, bro. I'm not going to wear it. I remember being little and my mom loved that show and we would always watch it. And it's always just been funny. I mean, a lot of the content in some of those episodes didn't age well, but then a lot of it did. I think at the time, they really did talk about a lot of things nobody was talking about on television. But there are some jokes and you watch it now, you're like, oof.
I was dying the other night when we were watching that episode and she was like, I can't believe Dorothy was like, that's her name, right? Dorothy?
Yeah. The Arthur.
She's like, I can't believe my ears. And then Sophia was like, me neither. I should have had him pinned back when you were 7. And I was dying.
Dude, she's ruthless. That's the funniest part, like the dialogue that she always has. I mean, she is so funny. Estelle Getty. She's hilarious. Did you know that she was the youngest character? Yes. Like the youngest actress?
So I was literally just going to read this to you. You remember Miss Hiller? She's like my BFF now.
Oh, yeah. From school.
She sent me this meme yesterday. Hello, all of the actors from Friends are now older than the youngest Golden Girl was in the show's first season. Have a nice day. She said, is this something you want to think about, or are we just going to pretend we didn't see this? And I said, I have to keep reading it for my brain to process it. But what's so crazy is like Jennifer Aniston is like the same age as those women on Golden Girls when they first started. And like, look how different they look. Like, it's such a different time. It's wild.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see how age is portrayed from the late 80s to now. And you know, it's so weird. It just doesn't seem like when you think of the 90s, you're like, 20 years ago. But it wasn't. It was 30 and the 80s was 40. And you're like, oh my God, dude, it's so crazy. I mean, yeah, the way they dress, the way all the men they dated in the shows were just all old as hell. But it's such a funny ass show. Like, but for me, I can put it on. I can always pop in, watch it, be entertained. It's just like one of those, like, when I'm feeling like anxious or I'm feeling stressed or anything in that field, I like to watch a show like that because I don't have to think about finding something to watch. I don't have to think about, is this going to be good? Am I going to waste 2 hours? Is it going to suck? Do I need to read this? Do I need to figure out that, sometimes I wish I was more the opposite, but sometimes in those moments, I just need to put on something that's familiar and comfortable that I know I like, that I know is going to make me laugh. But if I want to kind of do other things, it's okay. It's that show for me. And that shit can knock me out. I can put that on when I go to sleep. I mean, I recently switched up some shows, but recently, like for a year and a half straight, I watched it every single night before bed. It was just what I put on and I'd fall asleep.
Yeah, it's the best. It's like a lullaby. It's like a funny lullaby.
Yeah, and you just like heard it before, so I don't even need to look at the screen to know what's going on. I just have to hear it.
Who's your main golden girl?
Oh, well, I mean, I love Blanche because she's slutty. I mean, you know what? There's not one character that anybody that likes that show is like, oh, that's my character for sure. And I don't like the other one. Everyone sees a little bit of themselves in all the different characters, and some more than others. But I love Blanche. She is hilarious. I mean, Sophia is just ruthless.
Yeah,
so you can't not love her.
She's probably my favorite. And Betty White. I mean, you can never go wrong with Betty White.
That's what I'm saying. You can't choose any of them. Betty White is so funny. Did you know originally they were going to, when they were first casted, Rue McClanahan, who plays Blanche, was originally Rose, and then Betty White was originally Blanche, because Betty White had played on a show prior to the Golden Girls where she was like the slutty character. I forget the name of the show. So they were like, oh, well, of course. But they wanted to like do a different role. They wanted to challenge themselves as actresses. So yeah, they switched characters.
That's interesting because that's how Rachel and Monica, Jennifer Aniston was supposed to play Monica.
Really?
Courtney Cox was supposed to play Rachel, and they were like, you want to switch? Like, okay, cool.
That's so weird because I can't picture anybody being like the neurotic freak that Monica is besides Courtney Cox. When I was younger and loved Friends, I was a Monica girl. Like, Monica was my bitch because she had the cutest apartment. I loved her hair. I always just loved the dark-haired brunette girls. Yeah, I was a Monica girl for sure. Well, I think I was probably more of a Phoebe girl because I always loved like the little freaky, like hairy armpit girls. But I was definitely, if you had to go Brittany, Christina with Monica and Rachel, I was definitely a Monica girl.
It's interesting that both of our shows are really shows before technology was big. And I think that's what draws me to Golden Girls or Friends is like, none of them are sitting on their phones. There's not the whole, now on TV shows, they're texting and you see the text bubble and on the screen and like. Oh
my God. Sometimes those are so fucking annoying.
I know.
I hate shows that are like overly, I mean, I know it is the day, but I hate shows that are overly present
modern.
time. Overly modern, especially if they do like remakes, and it's always like so modernized. It's just so,
Yeah. And like, that's a thing that I really struggle with is because I am now, like I was realizing it today, I'm really addicted to my phone. I will put it down, exit out, but it's like become worse. And it's interesting because when I'm home with my family and my dogs, I'm really like I don't care who's calling me, what email I get. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. When I'm in LA, I definitely feel like I'm more like, oh, okay, like, did I get an audition? Did I book that? Did I get an email? Did I get this job?
Yeah.
Like, I'm constantly looking, but that's why I love shows like Golden Girls or Friends or that 70s show or Boy Meets World, because it's pre-cell phone. People are just sitting around connecting with each other and listening and quick and just really being in the moment. And like, there's such a lack of that in today's society. Even on Friends, when they started getting a cell phone, it was never like it was such like a choice to even have it in the scene. Like they didn't make it about
it was just like a luxury
because that's how this world is today. Like, and I just don't like it.
Well, it's not gonna, unfortunately, it's like really not gonna change, but it does fuck people up. Like that's why people's mental health is so, it's hard to tell because I feel like mental health and people have always struggled and dealt with it, but I think now things are so much more complex. It's like you can't really gauge because you just don't know. People weren't talking about it back then, so it definitely affects you. And when I'm on my phone a lot, I definitely feel my mental health shift. But it's hard not to be. I've tried to go through moments of like deleting social media apps and stuff and trying to get off of it just for a while, just to kind of clear my head and whatever. But it sucks when you have your work is kind of surrounded around that. I was forced to reinstall the app and of course what comes with it is just check it. But you know what? I'm not really a big techie person anyways, and I don't really jump on like the latest apps and all that kind of shit. So I just started really getting on TikTok, like a month ago. At first, I was like sucked into TikTok. I mean, I also had COVID, so I couldn't really do anything. But dude, one day I was on TikTok from like 3 p.m. to like 2 a.m.
But you were also creating, though. You weren't just staring at it. Like, I saw
that one day.
Yeah, but like we talked about that though, how like you really just enjoyed like learning that monologue and doing it, and like screwing around and doing something that was like creative and like some sort of outlet, especially because you were cooped up in your house all day long. And it was interesting because, you know, we talk about being present and in the moment. And it's like when I talk to my therapist a lot about like, okay, when I'm auditioning, that's when I feel most like myself. That's when I feel like I'm most in the moment. In this audition, it was like, my girlfriend and I just playing make believe, and we can't be on our phones because one's recording, one's being used as a prop. And I'm like, this is the root of it all. Like, when did acting become such a stressful thing for people? Like, I feel like people in LA and like in the industry are like, oh, I got this self-tape, and I bet these casting directors aren't even watching these tapes. And like, now I have to be the lighting designer and the DP, and I have to direct it and blah, blah, blah. Like, I miss going in the room, where I'm like, I love doing self-tapes. A lot of people don't. I've gotten more opportunities in the past year and a half from self-tapes than I have in the past 10 years of living out here. But it was like, I got to this moment where, and a lot of it was from watching like Marvel. I got into Marvel because I fell in love with Sebastian Stan and Pam and Tommy, and then I just watched everything he's ever done. And I was like watching Marvel, and I'm like, they're just playing make believe. My friend and I were just like, she was literally pretending she was a bird and dropping something off. And it's like, I'm pretending my girlfriend is a bird. And it's just fun to think about it that way. Like, we're just
it's very childlike.
Yeah. And like, we're just a bunch of big kids playing make believe and hoping that one day we make some money for doing it.
Right.
It's definitely being present, being in the present moment. Like, and my therapist and I will always talk about like, okay, well, how do we get you to apply that to your every moment in your day, as opposed to like just when you have an audition? And it's interesting because with singing, like, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I'm present the whole time I'm singing. If it's in front of an audience, I'm like, did I just screw up a word? Am I gonna hit this note? My throat feels dry. Like, I'm thinking so much the whole time I'm singing.
Yeah.
If you're in a scene with somebody, or you're trying to, portray something, an emotion, and you have to be present.
Yeah, you're forced to focus on it. Well, and I think that all ties into with modern technology, uses of our phones, that idea of instant gratification, that people have a really, really difficult time being present because everything they need that instant gratification. And I even feel that way all the time. And I try to like force myself not to think this way, or to get into a headspace of creating something without the idea of someone else, it being approved by anyone or even seen by anyone. Like there's but then sometimes you have to battle, like, is it even worth it? Because sometimes, especially if you're dealing with mental health or, any of these things, getting up and doing anything is difficult sometimes. So the idea of wanting to create something that's just going to sit there, although when you're in it and you do it, when you actually do it, it feels amazing. The feeling is very amazing. You're very proud of yourself. You feel creative. You feel confident. Like, if you create something that you really like, it's difficult to convince yourself that feeling will happen, because it requires a lot of effort to get yourself in the space.
And even like with this podcast, like, I mean, it has been, I was like, yeah, okay. So you just tell me to a microphone and talk with people. Like, people who are of status and who have money and assistants and producers, it's probably very easy for them, but I'm learning how to produce. I'm learning how to edit on audio softwares. Like, I'm doing all this research and everything. And then, of course, that imposter syndrome kicks in, where I'm like, well, of course this isn't working out because I shouldn't be doing this. And this is like, or who do I think I am to be having a podcast that anybody wants to listen? But at the end of the day, I'm learning so much. I'm applying myself a lot more in learning this than I have with anything in a really long time. And as frustrating as it could be, and there's been multiple times where I thought I lost an entire recording. It's happened twice now where I'm like, the whole recording's gone. This file didn't save, or our internet cut out. And I'm like, I'm having a full blown meltdown. But when I get to the other side and I'm like listening back to some of the conversations, or I'm like enjoying the conversations I am having in the present moment and being like, wow, I'm really proud of myself right now. And like, even if this doesn't see the light of day or 4 people listen to it, like I'm learning something.
Yeah, because you made something.
Yeah. And I'm also discovering a completely different side of myself, of what I'm capable of and what excites me and what inspires me and, things like that. I was going to ask you, with your current job, because you own a business.
Yeah.
Tell people what your business is.
So it's so funny to try and describe it because it is such a big, there's so many different avenues, but we do small scale renovations, small scale projects, home, local businesses. So it's kind of a little bit of everything. We do things from organizing all the way to full demos and redesigning. But like you were just saying, I always feel an imposter syndrome with our business. Oh, okay. My business is TYDY Spaces. This should introduce the business name, right? That's how you do
Spaces.
That. The way we've created our business is really just been out of a basic necessity to survive, but also not wanting to do what other people tell us to do. Sometimes it feels I have to remind myself that I am an actual business and that I should be promoting myself as a business. Because fortunately, throughout the 3.5 years we've been doing this, we haven't really had to do a lot of promotion. It's always, we've been fortunate enough to be busy based off just word of mouth. So sometimes I'll talk about it and people are like, well, what's your business? And I'm like, I'm not really quite sure how to describe it, because we just do what we love. And it's kind of anything. You want something done in your house? If I could do it, I'm going to do it. Handy Mandy and Tyler the Toolman Taylor.
But don't you feel like doing that job though? Like you've definitely been like proud of yourself. Like, damn, I did that.
I mean, well, if you think about it, 3.5 years ago, I couldn't even put a picture on the wall. I couldn't even put a shelf in the wall. Like I had no idea what a screw was or what an anchor was. And now 3.5 years later, I can do a lot. I can't do a bunch of shit, but I can do a lot of stuff, But it's crazy to think about it. It's crazy when you go day by day by day and you don't really see the amount of growth. And then you stop and you look back and you're like, wow, actually is a lot. And it's funny because if someone else were to tell you that amount of growth, you'd be super impressed.
Yeah, which is something to note though. Like it's so important to like not be hard on ourselves and to recognize all that we are doing and all that we have accomplished. Celebrate it, because I think we live in this world where we don't want to be too braggy. We don't want to show off, but like we do want to promote ourselves. You have to celebrate everything that you're doing, especially in order to be like, you know what? I'm super proud of myself. I learned how to do this and I did a good job. And that just attracts more things that will make you feel that way.
Well, and it really goes with what you were saying about imposter syndrome, where sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, we can't do this. But there is not a single project that we do where there is not a moment of what the fuck are we going to do? Something happens. You bust open a wall and you find something you did not expect. Or, for example, you have a guy that just decides to stop showing up to work, and you have a bathroom that's completely destroyed. There are so many different scenarios that we've come across in almost every single job, where in those moments, I feel like I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But in those moments, you have no choice. You have no choice but to learn how to do it.
And fully commit.
I mean, you want this wall knocked out? Like, I don't really know how I go about getting this wall knocked out, but I'm going to figure out every single thing that I need in order, and everybody that I need to get involved in order to make sure that it is knocked out and it is safe for you and your family and it is approved by the city or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things
Yeah, but
that I have learned.
you're also extremely creative. Like, it should be noted, like, you're an incredible makeup artist. You can do hair. You are amazing at drawing. Like, there's a lot of things you're really good at. And so in those
Jeez,
small,
thanks.
you can sing. I mean, like, you're a good actor. Like, you're a very creative person. And I feel like, especially in those moments where you're like, can I do this? There's just something inside of you, like that will and that strength and that creative mind that kicks in, is like, I don't know if I can, but I will figure it out and I will do it. I know that I'm going to put my best foot forward and I'm going to go full stream ahead like a bull in a china shop. And, if I fall on my ass, I fall on my ass, but at least I tried.
Yeah.
And what is the one solid piece of advice or tool that you've been using since therapy that you would want to share with others?
It's difficult because I think for me, a lot of therapy is about trying new things and being okay if something doesn't work. And it kind of changes. I think the biggest thing for me has been writing down my thoughts and getting those things out and being a little bit more vocal about things that I struggle with, because I'm not. Usually, I very much am a recluse and very much hide. So, being a little bit more open and finding some ways to connect, but then also finding ways to control my impulses. I'm a very, very impulsive person. And I do a lot of things that I know aren't helping, like drinking alcohol and eating like shit and staying in bed. And as hard as it has been to drink a lot less, and then I quit drinking for a little bit, and now I'm just drinking a little bit less, and I still go back and forth. It's not ever going to change overnight. Just relying on like expressing those types of bad impulses that I have to people and getting that support to just stay focused. That's been the biggest thing that's at least just helped me feel kind of in control a little bit, because for a minute there I felt like I couldn't go a day, as crazy as it's gonna sound. I felt like I could not go a day without smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, and having sex. And all of those things were causing me, and I didn't even like them. I didn't like the way I felt getting drunk. I didn't even like hooking up with random ass people. It made me feel bad about myself. And I couldn't stop it on my own. I really, really couldn't. And I've gotten to a space where I at least feel like I can tell myself no, or that I don't need to, and I can listen to some music, or I can listen to a stand-up, or I've relied a lot on stand-up. It really keeps me engaged, and it makes me feel happy. And I wake up in the morning and I'm like, damn, good for me. I didn't do that shit, but
that's amazing. And that's like a really big deal of just being like proud of yourself. And realizing that like asking for help or making a change, like it doesn't make you weak, and like being vulnerable doesn't mean you're weak. And like realizing that so much strength comes from literally knowing that you need to make a change. Like you have to be a very strong person and like a very willing person to want to make that change too. So, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment.
Forgiving. You have to be very forgiving. I spoke with my
compassionate.
I have an aunt who's a therapist, and at one moment I called her just to like unleash and get some advice or whatever. And I was feeling really bad about, my drinking, mostly because I had just like ruined this guy I was dating's birthday because I lost my shit in this bar and embarrassed everybody. Yeah, I've told you the story, but I went fucking absolutely insane on everybody for no reason. So I was like really feeling a lot of shame around alcohol, and I just felt like I couldn't stop it. But it was really interesting because she was like, look, the way you've used alcohol, like in those moments, you were dealing with so much other stuff. Alcohol was the friend that you had. and alcohol was there to make you feel better and to get you through those moments. And now you're getting to a moment where you are ready to take on all of this drama. You're ready to dissect it. You're ready to learn from it. You're ready to to forget and relearn. And alcohol is not the friend that you need anymore. But don't feel so ashamed that you had these experiences, because in that moment, it was just what you needed to survive. And I was like, it definitely was pretty impactful to hear, because it helped me not carry so much shame around a lot of those experiences.
That's amazing. Okay, we have had so many technical difficulties trying to record this episode with Tyler. We have used multiple platforms. We've had internet connection failures. We've had so many things go wrong. But
here we are.
And that's the thing, is like, you just have to go with the flow. And that's the biggest thing I'm really trying to learn right now, is like, it's a lot of that, the power of now, where it's like what you resist persists. And like, you have to go with each moment as if you've chosen it, and, you know, not resist it and act with it and flow with it. Because the more resistance you come at it with, it's just going to cause more of that anxiety in your chest and that more frustration. And so I'm really trying to get to that point of just being like, you know what? Everything always works out. It always has. It always will. And like we were saying,
I remind myself of that all of the time.
Yeah, my worst moments that I thought were going to last forever, I've always gotten through. And you just have to be like, this is temporary. This is temporary. And that's with the good and the bad.
I always just say that all the shit that you're going through in this very moment, it's all just going to be a memory one day. There's so many times where you experience something and you were like, it just freaking the hell out about it. And, you know, que sera, sera, baby. Like everything is just going to be a memory one day. So.
Yeah. And it's really just, you know, and I think about that, where I'm like, you know what, one day I'm going to be sitting, I hope, if this goes well, I'm going to be sitting in a studio and having like legit high quality podcast equipment and everything all smoothed out. And like, you know, I'm still in the beginning of learning all of this, and I'm not very tech savvy, but I'm figuring it out because it's something that I want to do. And I think about that too. Like, I remember, like, I was living way deeper in the valley when I first moved to Los Angeles, and I would always drive down Ventura Boulevard and be like, I want to live by here so bad. Like, I just love this area, blah, blah, blah. And like 6 months to a year later, I booked a commercial, and I've been in this apartment for over 10 years now. And I'm like, wow, like, I've always wanted to live here, and here I am, like, I did it. And it's really just like the power of the mind. And it's like, you know, just really manifesting. I'm such a big manifest believer, and like speaking things into existence. And so it's like, I don't want to keep sitting here saying like, oh, this is so hard, this is frustrating, oh my God. I just have to like.
That's so funny you say that, because I'm not really a big manifester when it comes to my own life, but I am when I go thrift shopping. I'm like, today I am going to find a fucking lamp. I'm going to find the lamp I want. And then I usually find it.
But see, like, you can literally do that with your entire life. Like, I remember when I
find $200 tomorrow on the floor.
Honestly, who knows? You could. And like,
damn, that'd be sick.
I'll never forget, like, when I booked the Justin Timberlake commercial and it came out, and my mom had asked me, like, did you ever imagine you'd be singing with Justin Timberlake? And I was like, yeah, every day of my life. Like, that's literally how this happened, because I literally dreamed of it every single day, and I spoke it into existence every single day. And like, you have to be careful, because you can do that with good things and bad things. What you focus on expands, period. So period. Well, I want to thank you for being so patient in all of this, and like so chill and we honestly, I mean, you guys could expect to hear Tyler a lot more on this podcast, because we have so much to say all the time, and he has been really great, and like,
be here,
just
baby.
Like bouncing off ideas, and like, you know, I like being around people and creative with people who bring out the best in me. I really feel like you are one of those people in my life where I have 100%, I can be 100% myself. Like there's no filter, there's no judgment passed. It's literally like, this is who we are. And like everything about me is appreciated and like vice versa. Like we're not like the things that other people may see as flaws are what we love about each other the most, you know? And like those friendships are so important to have.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun. And I'm excited to do some more with you. I'm excited to see how this expands and grows and what kind of topics we talk about and what people want to hear. And it just sounds fun. I'm really excited. So I love the technical difficulties. I mean, just love it. What a rag
Settle down now,
story.
Thank you for being one of my only friends, and thank you for being so patient with all of this. And
thanks for being my only friend.
I really am your only friend, though.
I'm looking at my cat and I'm like, nah. Okay, bye.